The American Flat Track Championship has made a swing to the West Coast in beautiful wine country in Northern California for round 4, the Calistoga Half Mile, presented by Indian Motorcycle. A beautiful place to hold a race, but it has been ugly for anyone not named Jared Mees in this championship this year. He's taken the checkered flag first in every race he has been in. Sammy Halbert and the factory Harley-Davidson team trying to make inroads on the Indian crew. And Chad Coase put his Indian up on the podium at our last race in Texas, looking for another breakthrough today. Brandon Price leads the points in our AFT singles division, but there's pressure as Shayna Texter begins to dial in her factory-supported Husqvarna. She was a close second at our last race in Texas. Jason Wygant, joined by Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeBow, will be patrolling the paddock and the podium all day long. Perfect conditions for racing at a great racetrack as well, but it was crazy at our last event. Deep in the heart of Texas for round 3, Shayna running out of time to get Morgan Mishler. Texter's got it open, he's barely hanging on. Checkered flag, Morgan Mishler takes the win. Oh, huge crash, Bonzi going flying. Jared Mees looking to restake his claim atop this series. Now, you might have caught the replay there of this spectacular crash in Texas. Take us through this, Ralph. I've never seen anything like it.
No, this is just remarkable. You see Smith lays it down, and everybody else has nowhere to go, including Bonzi in the yellow helmet, who just gets launched some 20 feet in the air and then comes crashing back down to earth. Just amazing.
I saw Brian out of my peripheral tuck the front, and I thought he was just going to kind of slide up the track and we were going to be able to sneak by. I saw Robinson go by, and then I saw Lewis go by, so I thought me and Jake had a chance, and I saw Jake clip Brian's bike, and once he clipped Brian's bike, I clipped the bike, and then I hit Jake's bike and sent me for a ride. It was just a collision that I can't even explain. I've never been that high off my motorcycle. I just had surgery 2 days ago. It's my right foot, so it shouldn't be too bad for flat track, you know, until we get to a TT. I hope I could be back for Sacramento, maybe Springfield. Springfield most likely, but Sacramento would be awesome, but I doubt it.
We'll hope to see him back. Now, the bike that Bonzi launched off of was this rider's, Jake Johnson, who was lucky to escape without injury, and he is racing today, and he's with Heather.
One of the riders involved in that crash in Texas is Jake Johnson. Jake, you had a wild get-off. First of all, are you okay, and how is your body feeling?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm a little sore than I thought after practice. Definitely settled in a little bit. Considering what happened, you know, I'm feeling pretty good. Neck's a little sore, shoulder, but luckily nothing broken, and kind of saw it happen early. You know, I saw Brian go down. He was a few guys ahead of me, and as soon as Lewis went by, it almost seemed like Brian's bike just moved down just like a foot. At that point, it was, couldn't do anything. I just kind of had to square up and take it. That was a tough one.
Now, this season, you're with a new team, Essenson Racing. So let's talk a little bit about your season so far and how you think it's going and the chemistry.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rough start. Still kind of trying to gel with the bike. You know, everything's new and trying to figure out what it likes and what it doesn't like, and, you know, kind of what I need to do to adapt to that. So, you know, we've changed a lot of stuff today, and feel like we're making some progress.
Also making progress, Sandriana Shipman. She had a crash at our last event in Texas. Also an update from one of our fellow racers, Sammy Halbert. So she has some broken bones, but she's healing up and plans to be back on the track soon as well. So a get well soon to Sandriana. All right, let's talk about the Calistoga Half Mile. Ralph, what's this track all about?
Well, a stunning location, as you can see, in that incredible dark dirt. Good for two things. It's for growing grapes and racing. This is one of the most legendary sprint car tracks in all of Northern California, and that dark dirt is going to change over the course of the day, and it will hold water really good tonight.
Just being out west, it's pretty cool to come out here and see. It's so different from what I'm used to.
My team owner, Richie, bought a pretty awesome RV, so we're staying in that for the whole trip and just kind of hanging out as a team. Richie likes to stop every 4 hours of stretch, so we do plenty of sightseeing as of right now.
My team is from the West Coast. They're from San Jose, California, which is like an hour and a half from here, so it's one of the few race swings that we have where they get to be home, which is really, really nice for us, actually. We get to change things that we don't typically get to change.
Everything we have is in the truck. You know, the team will stay out out on the road and find a parking lot to work on bikes and clean stuff, and it's just not feasible really to go back and forth for them and with not enough time. So they get the job done during the week for me to do my job on the weekend.
We're struggling a little bit with setup on these new bikes for me, so we were shipping shocks and shipping this, shipping that. It definitely makes things tougher when you're not in your home base. You just make the best of it, and you literally anything you can grab and fit in the truck, you put in there.
Bike setup's going to be key. I think everyone's so close in the times. You know, we're all within tenths and hundredths, so just try to find that right bike setup and ride hard till the end.
Everybody's pretty good and they go for it, so I think if you're not in the top 3, top 5 off the start, you're going to have a hell of a hard time in that race.
From like 1st to like 15th, it's pretty tight, so it's going to take good starts and 25 good laps.
The groove's real narrow, it's real one line, and there's a lot of traction, so everyone's pretty fast. So I think if you can get a good start and get some clear track, or at least up front, you can kind of set the pace with the fast guys up front. You should be okay.
So that narrow groove, we'll see how that affects the racing out here. We'll see if it widens or narrows as the night goes on. For more, let's send it to Heather DeBoe.
Thanks, Jason. We're here in beautiful Calistoga, California for the first round of our West Coast swing. Texas was very unforgiving to some competitors, including 2 riders from the Factory Indian camp, Brian Smith and Brad Baker. Brian Smith suffered a broken leg, but plans to return at Sacramento to go for his 8th win in a row at that track. Brad Baker had a hard get off as well, but he has been medically cleared to return to racing, and he's on track here today. We also saw Jared Mees get some redemption after overcoming a penalty to get yet another win. Factory Harley-Davidson also looking strong so far this season with 2 top 5s and 1 top 10. They're feeling really good about their half-mile program, and they're looking to continue that progress. After speaking to many riders today, the key to winning the race tonight will be to get a good start. If not, it will be difficult to pass, and you might have to make some aggressive moves. Jason?
Well, thanks, Heather, and that means the start is going to be extra important. As she said, here's your grid. That's going to be key to getting a good start. Davis Fisher starting to rally here. After a couple of down years, he's got the best grid position.
And Davis Fisher on a new Indian, too. He ran back home to Oregon to pick up that bike after Texas. First race with it here tonight.
All right, let's see if he can continue that upswing. We're going to go on board with Brandon Robinson. You'll get to hear exactly what it's like to launch one of these things and grab some gears. Well, not a great start for Brandon on that Factory Harley. He's got his teammate Sammy Halbert in the orange 69 right in front of him. Halbert trying to go to the front. You see just how close the quarters are right off the line in one of these races. Briar Bauman on the 14 right in front of Robinson. Woo, that's a great shot. And yes, Halbert was able to lock down the lead on the Harley.
Kenny Colbeth with a pretty good start as well on the number 2.
Chad Coase right there had a great run in our last race. Oh, almost run into by Bauman, who had a great charge coming into this corner. Let's see if Bauman can try to set up a move. Bauman on the 14, Coase on the 49, and Colbeth right there on the 2.
Right now, the majority of the racers tucking down on the bottom. That seems to be where the traction is. As it eases into the nighttime, look for that groove to widen out.
Okay, so who's going to put the attack on your leader? Will it be Bauman? Yes, he makes the move on Coase. He's the one that's going to try to run down that 69 of Halbert. And now Colbeth makes the move on Coase as well. And here comes Davis Fisher.
One of the biggest challenges Kenny has had on that number 2 Indian is getting the clutch to hook up the way he wants to get the launch. He got that handled. Now he's challenging up towards the front.
Passing riders at will is Colbeth, a veteran rider. He says this will be his last year on the tour, was actually our points leader a couple of weeks ago, and now going for the lead. Unbelievable charge by Colbeth. Move right now. Now let's see if Halbert can relaunch an attack, or no, you got to watch for Davis Fisher experimenting with the high line on that 67. He almost got Bauman, finding some new real estate out there is at 67.
So Davis on that new Indian, of course, every lap is a learning experience for him. They really haven't had any time on this bike. It's the first laps he's had with it. I'd say he's adjusting to it very well.
Fisher now going to the low line to try to make a move on Bauman, who's on the 14. Bauman trying to get Halbert, and through it all, halfway through this semi, pulling away is Colbeth. So now we have a 3-rider battle for second, but the leader has checked out.
Yeah, Kenny's doing a great job. You saw how much Davis's bike was bouncing around a little bit, still dialing in that suspension, whereas Colbeth's smooth and pulling away.
Bauman trying to sneak up on the 69 of Halbert. Fisher right there. Bauman to the inside, making that Sonati Racing Kawasaki work, and he takes over the second place spot. So Halbert pushed to third. Fisher right there. Now Fisher, a couple of years ago, pegged as one of the rising stars of this campaign, just trying to find the right equipment to really show his talent, and he might have it right now. He's going after Halbert for third.
Well, and the Kawasaki, the number 14, shows that this is not just an all-Indian Harley show. Bill Warner spinning the wrenches on those Cowies, doing a great job making them very competitive.
Yeah, Bauman was second in the main event at our last race in Texas, so he is on the rise. We check back in, the Replay XD on board on Brandon Robinson. You saw, did not get the good start, but certainly has some speed in the second half of this semi, and he's trying to get through that big battle for second, third, and fourth. He's fifth right now, but for how long? Coolbeth, meanwhile, looking at the white flag, and a really strong performance by the veteran. But watch Robinson in the back of this group right now. He's trying to pass his teammate Halbert. Good run by the 44. Just didn't get the launch that he needed, and that's going to cost him. And by the way, the grid position in the main event is based on your finish here. So Robinson's going to be at a big disadvantage in the main unless he can pull off a pass or two. He's out of time. Checkered flag is out. Coolbeth with a big victory. Coast shuffled back to sixth there at the end. So there it is. Kenny Coolbeth on a roll this year, jumping on this new Indian. And he continues to ride well by taking a big win in this semi. But Fisher, that was a nice run on that Indian.
Sure was, but it shows with Kenny Coolbeth, he has the speed. If he can get the launch, he's going to be right there. Maybe he's the one to give Mies fits today.
So Kenny Coolbeth fires first. We'll have semi 2 of our Twins class, including Jared Mies, when we return from break. And also we'll transition to our singles division. Morgan Mishler taking his first ever win at our last race in Texas. And Shayna Texter on the rise as well. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. And by American Flat Track, America's original extreme sport. And by Law Tigers, America's motorcycle lawyers. Back here with American Flat Track on NBCSN. Now watch Jared Mies in the second semi. A rare bad start for the number 1. Gets squeezed by the 27 of Robert Pearson, the number 6 of Brad Baker, off to the lead. Very rare that you see anything go wrong for Mies.
If you go back to the last race at Texas, for example, where he had numerous restarts, he nailed this restart every time. I've never seen him struggle like that.
And a struggle for Jared Vanderkoy. Bike problems for him. And you got to run the gauntlet in American Flat Track. If you don't finish in the top 9 in the semi, you don't make the main. So Vanderkoy, a contender, will not race the main tonight. Great battle for the lead here. The 23, Jeffery Carver Jr., takes the measure of Brad Baker to win this semi. Mies would rally back for third after the bad start. Johnson fourth. Wiles continues his consistency this year. He's right up there in the series standings. He finishes 5th. So good racing here. We had great racing, by the way, at our last event in Texas, especially in the singles division. Now we're on board with Shayna Texter. This is the last lap. She's in second. A mistake from Morgan Mishler almost opens the door. She couldn't get by, and you're going to watch a little salt on the wounds. Mishler wins, and she has to watch him pump the fist and get sprayed with champagne. Morgan is with Heather.
Here now with Morgan Mishler, coming off of his first Grand National win. Morgan, watching you go to the checkered flag for the first time was exciting for everyone, but go back to that moment on what went through your mind when you knew you got to the checkered flag first.
You know, I definitely had to throw a fist pump in there, and then, you know, I saw a white bike behind me. I didn't know if it was Price or if it was Shayna. So going to the first corner, that was the first question in my mind. So I checked, and it was Shayna. And then by the time I realized that, I was already up in the marbles. And from there, you know, we just had to take a little detour to the air fence and give it a little bump.
When you went into the air fence, was that embarrassing for you? I'm not sure many people caught it, but I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh no, I was having a ball. I was just worried about getting sucked underneath it, and then I bounced off. I mean, I kind of laughed it off a little bit. It was a good way to win my first national.
Your teammate, Jesse Janish, you guys are known as Team MJGR. Merg and Jesse go racing. It's a lot of fun for you guys to be racing together. How did that come about?
you know, we were waiting for a deal to go through so that me and him could be a legitimate team, and then it never really showed up. So after that, you know, brainstorming, coming up with ideas, and it just kind of slowly became into what you see today.
Now we're here in Calistoga, another half mile, 4th round for us. It's your 4th time on that Yamaha. How do you feel things are going today, and what's your outlook for the race tonight?
You know, it's going decent. Definitely have an adjustment to make. We got to get used to this track a little bit. First time in California. You know, we're just going to try to get comfortable and go from there.
We'll show you how qualifying racing looked in the singles class. Semi 1, great battle. Ryan Wells in the 94 gets inside just barely of the 92 of Brandon Price. This would go right down to the wire. In fact, rubbing tires, wheels, boots, and Wells just able to hang on over Price. Let's give you a little photo finish here. Corey Texter, by the way, a solid run in 3rd. Stallings and Smith round out your top 5. So Wells, who won this title 2 years ago, starting to pick up the game here in 2018. Here's Semi 2, your defending champ on the inside, number 1. Colby Carlisle gets edged out. Texter to the lead on that Husqvarna. She's making progress every week as well. Carlisle would try to run her down. Then you have Dan Bromley in 3rd. He was our points leader early in the season. So we're really seeing a wide variety of contenders in this singles class, including Shayna.
Here now with Shayna Texter. Shayna, you had a great run at Texas. It was the first time on the Husqvarna on the half mile. You told me earlier in the day you guys were working on suspension, but you look comfortable. So how would you say that race was for you?
Oh, it was a great race. To be back in the hunt, it felt like it was a long winter, and to get back out there and be that close to a win, you know, I was really excited. I had the goal to get a podium, and we got 2nd place, so I really can't complain, but I definitely was a little bit bummed to lose it by that close.
Walk us through a little bit of that, being behind Mishler and just how close of a race it was.
Yeah, I mean, Mishler, you know, is his first time leading a national, so I understood a little bit of the jitters, and the track was really inconsistent, and a couple times he was making some mistakes, causing me to make mistakes, and the last lap going in at 3 and 4 was kind of where I, in my head, wanted to make my move, and I felt like I had him set up just perfect. His bike got a little bit sideways, and I think we were looking each other in the eyes coming out of 4.
Now, how would you say the progression with your team, not only with chemistry, but the development of the motorcycles going for you?
It's going great. It's going a lot faster actually than I anticipated. The Husqvarna is a great motorcycle, and you know, my team, they're a little bit new to actually being mechanics. One's Breyer's dad, and the other one's just one of my friends. So they're learning, we're learning, and you know, it's great to be getting back up in the front.
Speaking of Breyer, you both got 2nd place finishes at Texas. How cool was it to bring home those trophies together?
It was super cool. You know, I think that's the first time that we've actually podiumed together with 2 2nd places, and it's really exciting to be able to bring both of them back home.
Now we're here in Calistoga. Last year you got a 5th place. What's your plan of attack today to up that spot and get on top of the box?
Just go out and perform, and you know, get good starts, and you know, hopefully if we can do that, we can put ourselves in a great position all night, and hopefully be there at the end.
Be great racing in the singles class later tonight. We're going to check in with Sammy Halbert, one of the great personalities and one of the most aggressive riders in the AFT Twins division. And then we'll have our singles main event. Probably 10 riders that can win this one tonight. AFT singles main event en route here with American Flat Track. Dan Bromley won your series opener. He wants another one tonight. Brandon Price won round 2. He would like to get another one and extend his series points lead. Shayna Texter on the rise, and Shayna always a fan favorite. Big cheers for the 52 on that factory-supported Husqvarna. So here is your grid. Ryan Wells won this title 2 years ago, looked good in his semi, and has a good starting position here.
He sure did, and of course Shayna's been coming on stronger each week as she's been dialing in that Husqvarna. I think she's going to be a serious competitor here tonight too, but keep your eyes on that 94.
And the 65, that's Shayna's brother Corey Texter on the inside. So here we go, our singles main event underway here in Calistoga, California, and it's Corey Texter going to grab the start. Shayna actually getting shuffled back, and watch out for Colby Carlisle and Ryan Wells. They are 3rd and 2nd. But Corey Texter leads the way right now in their first trip down the backstretch.
Boy, that was a terrible start for Shayna, but look at Wells up on the outside.
He's been doing a lot of work as he adjusts to the singles class, getting this motorcycle the way he likes it. Not able, though, to get the lead. from Corey Texter. So Texter down on the inside. Wells going to try the outside again, and this time it works.
Boy, he's got the Honda working good on the outside. As we said, this track would change as it turns into night, and you can see that outer groove now really starting to work.
So now Corey Texter under fire from Brandon Price, your series points leader and your runner-up in last year's championship. Price going to try to make the move, and then Dan Bromley, who struggled to 17th in our last race after finishing first and second at the first 2 rounds. Bromley is back. He's in 4th. He wants to battle Price for this championship. So a good duel. Oh, and Shayna Texter just snuck in there and made the move on Bromley, so she's up to 4th.
Starting to get pretty aggressive. That motorcycle working well for her. Let's go back and watch the start.
Not a good one for Shayna there. And you can see Bromley, Price, and that's how everyone got ahead of her. Now, one of the issues that Shayna deals with, she's one of the lightest riders out here, and she thinks on some of the surfaces, she does not get the traction off the line that some of the heavier riders do. But boy, can she make passes. Got another one dialed in right here, this time on the outside.
Yep, just like Brian Wells. We're seeing that outside starting to work, and you can see they're pushing that groove up as she gets around her brother.
That was interesting. So Shayna around Corey, and now gonna try to battle with Brandon Price. This would be for 2nd place. Got that thing hooked up coming out of the corner. Shayna putting a lot of pressure on. Ryan Wells trying to run and hide out front. Now Price and Shayna, they are not strangers to each other. They battled all year last year. Let's see if Price can hold her off. Let's see if Texter can get a line down to the inside, and she makes it work. Now we're on board with Price, and you see the opposite view. He's trying to tuck it back on the inside as we come off turn 4.
Well, that worked great. She ran deep into turn 3, let the bike drift up, and she was able to get the bite on that outside groove that she needed to complete the pass and to keep him from cutting back inside.
Price not done, though. He's trying to come back after her in this fight for 2nd place. Shayna, though, has gone from 6th to 2nd in just a couple of laps here. Is there time for them to maybe run down Wells and put some pressure on? Let's check in with Heather.
Corey Texter told me before this main event that he has felt good all day. He won his heat, but he did get a bad start in the semi, so he told me that as long as he gets a good start in the main event, he will be fine. He also told me that he's working on being more aggressive, so he's just working on adjusting his approach.
But Corey did tell me that they were worried about the brakes lasting for the entire main event. The bike was great in the semi, but he's worried about these last couple of laps. What if the brakes start to fade? It's all a balance on setup as you're watching Dan Bromley right now in the 62 going around the outside of Corey. There's Kobe Carlisle on board. Get a front row seat to that battle. Man, Bromley and Texter are going at it.
Carlisle's trying to make something work with his Yamaha too on that outside. See if he can get a drive down the backstretch. Not enough there, Jason, coming off in 2.
Yeah, Corey shut him off. It's not going to stop the determination, though. Carlisle keeps trying it. That is a great battle back there. You're going all the way back to 6th place. But up front, Ryan Wells, you can barely even see him. He has checked out. We'll see if Shayna Texter can make a run at him, maybe Price. But there are valuable points on the line with this group. Price with Bromley right behind him. Those are the riders that were tussling for the points lead early in this championship. Now Corey Texter trying to make moves as well. Morgan Mishler, last week's winner. He's made the move on Texter, and he's right behind Carlisle, the number 1. So the 69, you see the yellow handguards? He wants a piece of that top 5. Also Kevin Stallings on the 99. Almost impossible to call all these passes.
Yeah, a lot of great riding going on in this group right here. All fighting for very valuable points.
All right, so 3 to go. We'll try to reset it for you. Wells is your leader. Shayna Texter 2nd. Price is 3rd. Now you're watching 4th, Bromley. Right behind him is Stallings, Carlisle, Mishler. So podium up for grabs. Stallings on the 99. He is the one to watch. He's trying to set up that 62 at Bromley. He's got a line to the inside.
A lot of riders been looking to the outside. Stallings going inside. There should be enough traction down there. And if he can force Bromley into a little bit of a mistake, he can get the pass done, and he does.
It's exactly what happened, Ralph. So now 4th place for Stallings. That'll split your riders who are at the top of the standings, now 3rd and 5th between Price and Bromley. White flag is out. Ryan Wells struggled a bit to start this season. He's a championship favorite because he won the title in 2016. Certainly appears to have things dialed in now. He's got a good lead over Shayna Texter here, who is in second. And then your battle for the podium is getting, a wiggle off of turn 4. Wells almost threw it away, but he holds on to win it on the Honda. Texter is second. Bromley, where did he come from? We saw him in 5th. And on the last lap, he ends up in 3rd. Oh, no.
Stallings down.
Well, there's the answer of how Bromley made up those positions. Oh, that's a heartbreaker. Well, check out Stallings here. He's in red on the 99. Oh, he runs into the back of Price. And then he gets tagged by Morgan Mishler and down. There they are.
Yeah, they're just racing hard here on the last lap. Contact, and Stallings just on the outside of it. Fortunately, able to get up and walk away under his own power.
He was trying to get 3rd in the last lap. Podium is where these riders want to be. He gave it everything he had. So tough break for him. So Bromley will gladly take that. He's actually going to gain points on Price. And Mishler from 16th on the grid up to 4th. There is your entire 18 rider field. Stallings unfortunately taking 18th. Let's check in with Heather.
Ryan Wells, your winner here at Calistoga. Big fist bump to the fans there. First win for Richie Morris Racing. You've been hungry for it ever since you came back to singles. Put into words what this win means to you.
Man, it's unexplainable. Honestly, these singles guys are fast, and coming back down from a twin, it was obviously high expectations for me. So we had a rough first 3 rounds, but my team they never gave up, and they were awesome, especially right down to the couple minutes before the main event. So can't thank those guys enough, the whole Richie Morris Racing, LM, Honda, and just everybody. Yeah, wow, this is awesome, and hopefully this is the first of many.
Now, you had more than a 2-second lead. Were you aware that you were that far in front of the rest of the field?
Nope, and I didn't care. I got by Corey, and I knew if I could just get ahead and ride the line that I wanted to ride, it's going to make my life a lot easier. I didn't take a glance over my shoulder once that whole main event. B. Smith told me they were running a little higher in 1 and 2 before the main event, so I rode a little higher in 1 and 2, and it definitely paid off.
Ryan Sids have been throwing a ton of changes at that bike every week. Clearly, they're a lot better this time. He's up to 3rd in points, by the way. Bromley only down 4. Shayna Texter climbing up to 5th. She did not qualify for the first main event of the year in Daytona. Certainly has turned things around.
Shayna Texter brings home her Husqvarna second for the 2nd week in a row. But we saw you battling with your brother, Corey Texter. What was that like?
Oh, man, it's so tough to pass him because every move I make, I got to think twice about it because, man, I don't want to go home and listen to it all week about it. So, no, my brother's a great competitor. It was a lot of fun being out there to race with him. Husqvarna motorcycle rode awesome. I felt like we had the win tonight, and, unfortunately, a little bit of a bobble off the start cost me. But, just huge thanks to my team and everyone who supports us. We're going to get up top soon.
So Ryan Wells now on top in the AFT singles division. This is going to be a whale of a championship. Chad Coast, first career podium at our last Twins event. We'll talk to him after this. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Indian Motorcycle. Be legendary. By E3 Spark Plugs, the official spark plug of AFT. And by American Flat Tracker Clothing Company. Find your groove at AmericanFlatTracker.com. Chad Coast rallying for his home state race here in California. He won the heat race earlier today. He was on the podium at our last race in Texas. Let's get to know the young man. Chad Coast doesn't want to give a podium away. You got a privateer there, battle right across the line for 3rd, and it's gonna go to Coast.
Just given the scenario being my first podium, I was going to be pretty hard-headed about it. If somebody wanted to get by, they were definitely going to have to possibly take us both out. Didn't look back once in the race, didn't care to. Racing motorcycles is my life, so yeah, I definitely got a little bit emotional. My career has kind of gone differently from a lot of the top guys in the sport. I ran my own team for several years, and driving to the races by yourself, trying to fund everything, like a lot of money came out of my own pocket. Things like that made the struggle very hard, but it's also kind of shaped me into who I am. Now that I have been on the podium, it's kind of a relief. New team, new bike, high expectations, and new sponsor in Indian of Oklahoma City on board. There's pressure to perform because I do have the backing now that I feel I can compete at the front. Being on an Indian, I definitely feel it's the best bike in the paddock. Indian has made a great motorcycle, but at the end of the day, the riders still have to ride it, so I just trust in what I can do. After all those years of struggle, I have made it. When basically all the cards were always stacked against me, I had an uphill battle, and now that I've made it there, I feel like I can kind of ride loose and just be myself and ride within my capabilities. If, the scenario was right to get a first win, I actually really like Calistoga. I'd really love to perform well in front of the hometown fans. Maybe it'll happen today.
Well, it's about to happen. Rider introductions underway. We are getting ready for our AFT Twins main event. So critical is the bike setup, especially tires. So let's get our Dunlop tire tech tip with Heather.
Thanks, Jason. There were differing tire strategies here at Calistoga Speedway throughout the day. Earlier on in the event, we saw riders on the softer compound of the R5, and then they were switching back and forth to the harder compound of the R8. Two riders I spoke to briefly was Chad Coase and Davis Fisher. They started on that R5 for the heats because those are shorter races and they wanted to get a good qualifying position for the semis. Then they moved to the harder compound of the 8, knowing they were going to be on that tire for the main event so that they could get comfortable. Now, because of the cooler temperatures and that 25-lap main event, harder compound won out today for majority of the riders.
All right, thanks, Heather. Our main event is coming up next. But first, we're going to talk to Sammy Halbert, making big strides as he's adjusting to the factory Harley-Davidson this year on that familiar number 69. Can you put it on the podium? Might have to tangle with this guy, Jared Mees. We'll be right back. The American Flat Track Calistoga Half Mile presented by Indian Motorcycle. We are just about set for our main event. But let's check in first with Sammy Halbert, making big strides as he adjusts to the factory Harley.
The first two races for me were really, really frustrating, really tough, and then things just turned a corner at the last round in Texas. Practice, I started to kind of feel like myself on the new Harley. For the semi, we tried going with the bike setup a little more in the direction that we had went to make it better, and that little more actually made it a ton worse. So in the semi, the thing was next to impossible to ride, and I was kind of going backwards, and someone got into me, took me out, and luckily was able to make the main. The track was really hard to pass because it was one-line blue groove, but I found a spot where I could roll around the outside of people going into turn 1. So there was a time when guys were bunched up on each other, and I would just send it on the outside and be able to get in front of them. I got two guys at once going into that corner around the outside. Was kind of a fun moment for me.
Man, what a run for Halbert. Oh, look at that. That's working on the front end, and it's going to cost him.
Should have got 5th, but I got a little too anxious at the end. Got into Shoemaker and got 7th.
He is really one of the most gritty competitors out here.
For me, it was huge to start getting my confidence level up on the bike to where I can start feeling like myself, the aggressive slamming Sammy. I want to be out there and charging to the front. I think overall it's been good. Vanderkoy was the first one to show that it's got some potential by getting up there and running up front at Atlanta, and that kind of fired us all up. Then me and Brandon last weekend showed some speed, so just seeing the progress, seeing that it's got the potential. So I feel really good today, so I'm gonna fight for the win. I'm hoping that today starts off as good as we left off at the last round, and I'm ready to get up there and start messing with Jared. The pressure's got to be getting to him soon. I think he's ready to probably start handing the torch over, and so I'll be ready to pick it up when he drops it.
Okay, we'll see if Sammy can do that. Starting 8th on the grid in tonight's main event. Davis Fisher, first race on that privateer Indian, but he looked very good in his semi, so the 67 could be one to watch. And Jeffery Carver Jr., also on a privateer Indian machine, should be a contender as well. Here's your starting grid, Ralph. Of course, the guy they're all trying to knock off is Jared Mees.
Yeah, but we got to see if Jared can get a better start. We saw in that semi, he really struggled off the line. Quick once he got going, but if he struggles again, that could open the door for somebody else to take the win here, like maybe Kenny Coolbeth on that number 2.
He's got the perfect grid spot, does Coolbeth. Here we go, the finals, our main event in the AFT Twins division in Calistoga. Bad start for Coolbeth from the inside, great start for Carver, who's up to the lead. That's a K&N hole shot for Carver, but a long way to go, 25 laps
Not a great start for Mies, but he's already starting to gain some ground back up to third on that number 1 Indian.
Briar Bauman on that green Kawasaki number 14, Zanatti Racing. Oh! And he just got bumped. Mies went around him. Wow, that was quick. So Mies making short work of Bauman, making up for, again, another subpar start. Only one man left to run down, and that's Carver. It's not going to be easy, though. Carver has looked very strong all afternoon and into the night. On that number 23, Bauman trying to come back on Mies from third, and then it's Brad Baker in fourth.
You know, I talked to Jared about some of the other competition. I said, size up some of the guys you're most concerned about. He said, nobody really seems to be as consistent as he has been. Some guys good here, some guys good there. He said here at Calistoga, the one guy he was worried about is the guy in front of him.
And there's a good reason for that. Carver holding him off right now. Mies trying to make the inside line work. Carver shading a little bit higher and then able to block the line as they come off the corner. So Mies and Carver, can they make it a private duel out front? Can Bauman or Baker close back in? So far, it's just these two.
I don't think Jared's going to push the issue here. We got a long way to go, and he knows he's the most dominant rider on the tour. Well, look at that. He already sizes him up, cuts inside. See you later, Carver.
All right, well, you got to take the opportunity when it's there. So the inside line works for Mies. He's got the lead. We'll see what Carver can do running in the number 2 position. Can he try to turn the trick back on Mies? And he is staying right with him.
Well, now I'm sure Jared's going to try to put in a couple of really good laps here, see if he can shake Carver and break loose. If Carver hangs with him, that could be a whole nother story.
Let's check out that number 2 of Coolbeth. Great in the semi earlier, but a bad start into the main event has done him in. But there's plenty of time for him to make up ground. He's trying to get around the 6 of Baker. I'm impressed that Baker is even out here after a big crash at our last race in Texas that kept him out of the main event. He's recovered, but right now he is under fire. We're at the replay XD on board with him. Watch out for the wheels of that number 2. Coolbeth's trying to get around him.
Kenny should be coming up on the inside here, struggling with that clutch off the line, but once he gets going, he's solid.
Let's check in with the number 6 machine of Baker with Heather.
Now, if you remember, Brad Baker got a win here at Calistoga back in 2014, so he's looking to get a good finish tonight. When I spoke to him earlier, he said he's feeling good, but he's just working on getting his confidence back up after a rough couple of weeks. He said he's a little nervous coming back into it, but he feels better being at a track that he likes. He told himself today that he just needs to block out everything else, don't put any pressure on himself, and just have fun and go ride. He is looking for his first podium of the season.
Well, when you're trying to ride pressure-free, this is not the way to do it. He is in a dogfight. Oh, but Bauman blows the line into the corner, and Baker says, thanks, I'm up to third, but pressure is still there because Coolbeth is not letting him go.
Brad just needs a really good race. He's had a lot of things from the outside world impacting his brain this year, and if he can battle like this and maybe come out on the top end, it'll do him a lot of good. But boy, Coolbeth's going to be tough.
Yeah, Coolbeth gets by for third. Let's see if he can try to run down that lead duo of Mies and Carver. Great racing early here in Calistoga. Calistoga half mile presented by Indian Motorcycle. We're watching the 69. Sammy Halbert started 8th on the grid, but he is up to speed now and trying to chase down a top 5. Got the 27 of Robert Pearson right behind him, the 17 of Henry Wiles right in front. So Halbert feeling more comfortable on that factory Harley every week, putting in a good run from the back. Meanwhile, up front, Jared Mies continues to lead, but Jeffery Carver now starting to cut into that gap. Halfway through this one, it was all Mies. He had pulled a sizable gap. Carver not giving up though, Ralph.
Carver's done a good job of moving his line around a little bit, searching for the right amount of traction to get the most speed out of his Indian, and he's really putting in some good laps now.
What is interesting, you know, last year Indian was new to this and they had 3 factory bikes on the track. Then late in the year, they started making that machine available to the public as a race bike for privateers. This season, everyone's had an off season to get used to it, and you're seeing a lot of the privateers like Carver who are now on those Indians riding very well. The equipment gap is not that huge between what he has and Mies. Now, Mies has a great team to tune that motorcycle, But you can see these privateers have a shot at winning races now that that Indian is available to them.
The biggest gap is the experience of the rider and the head mechanic spinning the wrenches. For me, that's Kenny Tolbert. That's a strong combination. When you talk to the riders in the paddock, they will all tell you the guy that reads the racetrack the best is usually going to be the guy that wins. The privateer Indians straight out of the box off the showroom floor, they're quick. Look how good Davis Fisher is riding here tonight on his first time out. Mies and Tolbert are just exceptional at reading the racetrack.
And they've made big gains since that semi by making bike changes. Here we go. It looks like Pearson has gotten back around Halbert in that battle for 8th. Johnson on the Yamaha behind them on the number 5, just inside the top 10. So Halbert had a good run going, but Pearson able to repass him. Battles all over this racetrack right now. Back to your leaders, and Carver continues to close, Ralph. Getting some confidence here in the latter laps.
Yeah, and you can see, as we said, Carver's moved his line around a little bit. Jared has pretty much stayed in the same groove, and he's told me in the past, when he finds something he likes, he'll tend to go with the risk-reward and stay with what he thinks is going to work. He can see him peek a little bit over his shoulder. He can hear Carver back there. And Jason, I'm betting Jared's a little surprised the 23 is still right there with 3 to go.
Well, what does that do for the mindset of Carver? He knows he's closing the gap, and now he knows that Mies knows that. So that's got to be some confidence.
Oh, it's huge confidence for Carver, and he's just going to keep trying to apply the pressure. The louder that 23 gets to the 1, the better shot Carver's going to have of trying to make something happen here.
And he's using different lines, so if he can get close, he's got to figure he's got a shot at getting around and making a pass. 2 laps to go. We'll show you the intervals here. Look, with 11 to go, he was almost 9/10 of a second behind. Now, less than 2/10.
Carver's got a better line. It's can Mies just hold him off? Look at this.
Woo, it's going to be a race right down to the white flag. Carver is on the rear tire of Mies. Can he use one of these outside lines to make the pass on the last lap? We're out of turn 2. It's as close as it has been since the opening laps of the event. What's Mies going to do? Will he stick with that inside? Will he try to block the outside? Mies is going to go low. Carver's got to be perfect around the outside here, and he is. Can he make the pass? Out of the corner, Mies hooks up and just holds on to win the Calistoga half mile. What a race. Carver gave him everything he could handle, but the experience of Mies, he did not falter under serious pressure.
Carver did a great job. He carried tremendous momentum. Jared didn't change his line. He was going to force him around the outside, and Carver just couldn't get the drive he needed to get him at the line.
Needed a few more laps, or needed to start that charge a few laps earlier. By the way, Coolbeth coming all the way back for 3rd. We saw him in 5th for most of this race. Baker 4th, and Davis Fisher a great run inside the top 5. There is your 18 rider field at this Calistoga half mile presented by Indian Motorcycle. Well, doesn't matter, the gap, a win's a win, and Jared Mies has another one just edging Jeffery Carver. We'll talk to him next. American Flat Track on NBCSN is brought to you by Harley-Davidson, the official motorcycle of AFT Twins. By Replay XD, the official action camera of American Flat Track. And by Vance & Hines, the presenting sponsor of AFT Twins. Briar Bauman at the top of our Sunoco Go the Distance Award standings. That's the cumulative miles logged in every practice, qualifying, and race session so far this year. It's a good job by the Sonati Kawasaki rider. But the best kudos goes to Jared Mies. He wins this race, and here's how he took the lead from Jeffery Carver.
Well, this move right here was the race. Once he got around to the inside, nobody was able to make a pass back. But boy, Carver gave him fits and did an outstanding job on that number 23.
So that's the Motul move of the race, and here's your winner with Heather.
Jared Mies, your winner here at Calistoga, 2nd year in a row, but it was a drag race to the line, 0.11 seconds. At one point, you had over a second lead over Carver, and then he was catching you. Did you feel him behind you there on that last lap?
I was looking back a little bit, especially when we got in the lappers, and felt like I kind of slowed up a little bit coming up to the lappers, and he was able to just probably charge. He was able to kind of probably move around and find some good spots where I just kept doing what I was doing. But, you know, hats off to Jeffrey. He put it on me in the semi-big, and we came back. Hats off to my entire team, whole Indian motorcycle racing. You guys are just great. I really appreciate it.
And he further stretches his points lead at the top of the standings. Coolbeth, Bauman, Wild, solid, but still can't solve meets.
No, you can't. And now we move on to the miles. And if he gets hot there, boy, it's really going to be tough to catch him.
That's their probably last chance to get a hook in him. Let's check in with Jeffery Carver.
Second place tonight for Jeffery Carver. Jeffrey, we saw you closing the gap on Mies there. You told me you were going to chase the racetrack. If you had more laps, more time, do you think you would have been able to get him there at the end?
I think it would have turned into a dogfight, just a crazy scrap. And, you know, I saw him kind of moving down last lap or two. I thought maybe I could get a run around the outside or if he bobbled, but the whole race, he never slipped up once at all. And, but yeah, I was just really happy to be able to move around the racetrack and dig deep and try and find it down in.
So now begins a stretch of 5 straight mile races starting in Arizona.
Yeah, all completely different strategy here, right? It's a different type of game, a very high-speed chess match. It's a golden opportunity for somebody to catch fire and reel Jared in. But he's also an incredible veteran, and he could be tough to beat.
Great day of racing here in Calistoga. For Ralph Shaheen and Heather DeVoe, I'm Jason Wygant. Thanks for watching.